Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. This segment's brought to you by CommercialAgentSuccess.com. It's 21 one-hour videos for commercial agent training. Check it out. I know it's great because I created it, so do check it out. Well, today we're talking about social media for commercial real estate industry participants. And please, my guests are Sarah Malcolm and Amanda Bowen, and they are with the Content Funnel, and they're joining us on the phone. And ladies, I think one of the things I see some people posting on social media, and I see what they do, and it seems like they're not doing things that would attract the right customers or client or interest in what they do. So what should people think about related to their mission and their focus to make sure their social media endeavors have a good return on investment?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that I see that people make is they don't have a clear goal and objective of what they're trying to achieve. They just hop on social and just go. And I don't think we would treat any initiative like that in business ever. So it's really kind of determining what is your goal and what is your purpose, what are you trying to achieve on social media. And based around that, you develop content, blogs, posts, pictures, whatever the the form may be, and all should make sure that they're achieving that goal at the end of the day. So you really have a true return on investment of all your time and effort.
And I guess, Amanda, part of your goal is also understanding who you want to reach, right? Your audience?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I think that, the biggest thing I always try to stress to the people that I talk to on a daily basis on sales calls is that, this is really an advertising initiative. It's not like you wouldn't just be like, I'm going to do my own advertising. I'm just going to go out there and just start throwing things out. It has to be a thoughtful endeavor. Like you have to plan it out like anything else because you need to know, like as Sarah said, where you're trying to get to. And it doesn't need to be stiff and rigid, but you do need to say like, we want people to know this about our brand. We want, this information to be repeated so that people get that. And you need to have a strategy. And it's certainly, if you are a larger company, you really should be using professionals to delve into your social media. Look at what you did. Look at what worked, what didn't work. Create a strategy for you going forward so that, there really is a plan in place, and then execute that.
Absolutely. And we use the late night approach, and it's really the 80-20 rule. So 80% should be curated content, and 20% should be kind of your sales posts, if that makes sense. And the late night approach, what that means is, so if you see Justin Timberlake on a late night show, and he's on with Jimmy Fallon, the majority of the show, about 80% of the show, they're talking about a trip we went on, they play a game, they talk about his kid, whatever the topic is, has nothing to do with the actual reason why he's there, which is usually to sell an album. And at the end, Jimmy Fallon says, oh, by the way, you've got an album coming out. And he's like, thanks for bringing that up. Like they almost forgot to talk about it. And that's the only reason why he's there. So that really should be your content approach, is you let people into who you are, what your expertise is, thought leadership, something entertaining, something beneficial to your audience, and then you hit them with the listing or you hit them with whatever you're trying to sell. You can't go in full force and really not have a strategy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. I look at one of my sites, Commercial Agent Success on Twitter, COM Agent Success, if you want to check it out there. And it's my company that produces video training for commercial agents. And there I post a lot of things that help agents be successful. But that's pretty much, I think, all I'm posting is various things that help agents be successful. But I guess from what you're saying, I need to add another element or two to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, social media is in itself basically like a large-scale drip campaign. People, again, I bring it back to the standard advertising methods because, we're trying to get people to understand that this is the new way that people advertise. It looks different, but it is serving the same purposes as the older versions of advertising. It's not that you don't need to do the, older versions of advertising. They're still relevant, but now there is another tier of advertising that needs to be done, and that's social media. But you are constantly just trying to stay top of mind. You just want people to see your brand's name or see something come through on their social. They scroll through, they go, oh yeah, there's that company that does, education videos for brokers. Okay. They just keep going. But then when it comes up, when someone says to them, oh man, I'm really looking for some training here. You know anybody who does this? They'll be like, yeah, I follow so-and-so on social media. You should look them up. Mm-hmm. That's what it is.
Yeah, and I even get leads for me, and because, I write a blog and Amanda writes a blog, and we're constantly just sharing information. It's not a sales pitch at all. It's just okay, this is the latest, kind of keeping everybody up to date on the latest and greatest in digital marketing. And people come to me and say, okay, I've seen your posts. I really need help with this. How can you help me? And that's brought leads to us. And that's when Amanda said, it's about timing. Life is about timing. You have to be at the right place at the right time to be able to close a certain deal. And that's another part of social media. It's just, again, having that consistency and that, that brand awareness over and over and over and over again.
And one of the things I think that a lot of people tend to struggle with is content. And I think some people feel like all the content should be very original or from them. But it seems like when I see the people very successful in social media, they're really sharing content from a lot of different sources, like our show is shared by a lot of folks. What do you say to folks who are trying to find good content?
Yeah, so the first place to start is, if it's not your own content, is checking out the influencers. The benchmark report that we have is a great place to start, of kind of looking at who those influencers are. And again, that's a free report you can find on our website. And then, the other part is creating original content. And that's where it does get a little tricky, but, you can outsource, you can, schedule time to do it yourself, which is hard. I mean, how much work goes into your content, Michael?
Yeah.
A lot. Right?
Right.
It's an incredible effort.
It is a lot.
So,
and a lot of times I'm sharing other folks' content that I really compete with, but does that really hurt me or help me?
No, that helps because, number one, you're a supporter of others, and they'll repeat that favor. So if you're sharing their content, they'll definitely share your content. It's also a good look. It shows you're a good person, and you're good people, and that's again something that I want to work with, and someone who I want to be around.
Don't be spreading lies out there, Sarah. Well, I'd like to ask you about in-house versus out-house, or a lot of people think, well, social media is free. Can I do it myself, or if I have a company, should I do it with in-house personnel? But then there's also companies like you guys that will help us with outsourcing social media. What are some of the positive and negatives of first doing it yourself, and then maybe the potential positive and negatives of outsourcing it?
Well, I think when you have someone, if you can have someone in-house who is working for your company and, steeped in the company culture, and their job is to be your social media, person, that is a great thing because it truly is a full-time job. It is not easy to be, again, if you're working on 3 to 4 platforms, which is where you should be, just like, again, with any other advertising, you don't advertise one place. You don't just put ads in a magazine. Like, there's TV, there's radio, there's billboards, there's all these different things. That's what social media is. You have to be on multiple platforms, right, working together. So somebody who is on those platforms, engaging with people, coming up with content, interacting with, when there's a comment, when there's a question, like monitoring the social media, it's a huge job. So if you have someone in-house, that is fantastic, and absolutely, but it needs to be, somebody's full-time job. We meet with a lot of people who are like overburdened admin assistants who have a full-time job, and then somebody's like, oh, by the way, you're in charge of our social media.
Right.
That's just not viable, and that person is not going to be able to do that. So if you're a full-on company, you should either pay someone to come in and do your strategy and help train this person, which we offer, help train this person on how to do social media effectively, or you do outsource it to a company like the Content Funnel, who can handle all of the work. We create all the content, we do, all of the posting for you, but you get it all in advance, you approve it, so you have oversight into everything, but we're making sure that you're out there consistently, and it's not something that you have to think about on a daily basis.
Yeah, and we've got the experience of just being focused in real estate, so we know the audience, we know the influencers, we know the players, so there's no homework for us. We really know exactly how to execute, and a lot of people say, well, take risks, make mistakes, and learn fast. We don't need to learn. We don't need to make mistakes, and we don't need to learn fast. We already know, because we've been doing it for so long, and we know the industry. And the other point I wanted to make is, a lot of people will say, okay, well, my admin will just do our social media on the side because he or she is young. They, know how to use Instagram, but you have to have like a clear strategy and a business approach. There has to be some sort of goals and objectives, and a lot of those younger folks, don't have that type of background. For instance, there was a woman recently who got advice from her 12-year-old about how their company should be using Instagram. and she jumped at it and was like, okay, we need to do X, Y, Z, because my 12-year-old said that. And I was like, that's just crazy, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, listen, I appreciate what, kids have to offer, but from a business standpoint, you can't look at it as because they're young, they know what they're talking about.
That's right. And you mentioned that, if you have an admin or someone doing it, that they may not have time to do it. And I think time is an issue with social media. Let's say that you're an individual entrepreneur, you're a commercial real estate agent or somebody like that, and you're a one-man or one-woman shop, and you can't really outsource this, you're having to do it yourself. What are some tips to help manage the time involved with it?
I would say, so sit down at least 1 to 2 hours a month and kind of create a solid plan of what you're going to post. And you can utilize platforms like Hootsuite to schedule it all, so you've got the whole month kind of planned out and scheduled. So the only thing you have to think about is engaging with others and sharing others' content. So that's one of the top ways that I've found. Amanda, you can speak to this as well.
Yeah. I mean, Hootsuite absolutely, so let me just explain. A platform like Hootsuite allows you to pre-schedule your posts so that you set them up in advance, and then they just post on their own, and you're not doing anything like on a daily basis, but your content is being put out there consistently. And so that's probably the best way for an individual to manage multiple platforms. And it is those are very intuitive programs, and they're easy to use, like a Hootsuite or something similar to it. So definitely something like that. And then honestly, the other tip or hack is to find somebody that you like following, and start to basically duplicate what they're doing in your own way. If you like somebody's page and you enjoy what they're doing, then model yourself after them.
Yeah. And the other way to kind of speed up your success in social is partnering with influencers. So if there's, the one thing that's great about our industry is our influencers are so accessible. In other industries, it's just not the case because they've got, millions of followers. But in our industry, it's so small. There's definitely a core group, Michael, you definitely being one of them, that it's easy to get in touch with you guys. So to build that relationship just takes time and consistency, just like any relationship, but it's realistic. And once that happens, they'll start supporting you and start helping you and, getting your content out there and helping your name get out there.
Yeah, that's
Which is exactly like why we say that social media, you can't beat it. Like, you can actually build relationships on social media. That's not something you can do through regular advertising. And that's, in that direct way.
Michael, you and I first met on Twitter.
Yep, that's right.
right?
You were with ICSC at the time, I think?
Yep, I was running digital for ICSC, and that's how
Yep.
99% of my commercial real estate, introductions came through was really social media. And
Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been on social media for a long time, and I've got some great relationships. You mentioned how I met you. That's how I met Duke. That's how I've met a lot of people. And and I remember when I first started doing it, my own brokers laughed at me. They were like, "What? You're involved in social media? You're wasting time, Michael." But I think it has been beneficial. And also, you two ladies have been very beneficial. Great information on the show today. We really appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And so we'll have their social media contacts on our webpage at commercialrealestateshow.com. And we have another guest for you. So especially if you're a commercial real estate agent or broker, you want to stay tuned for this one. Stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show. America's Commercial Real Estate Show is brought to you by Bull Realty. For customized asset and occupancy solutions, visit bullrealty.com. Commercial Agent Success Strategies. Incredible training for commercial agents. Visit commercialagentsuccess.com. BOMI International. For facilities and property management education, visit BOMI.org. Buyproxy.com. Your global commercial real estate listing service. Visit buyproxy.com. Red IQ. Turning multifamily data into actionable intelligence. Visit rediq.com.